Welcome, my good folks, to another Hump Day Real Estate with Kendall and the DMV. Buyers beware. What is Kendall talking about? Well, buyers or buyer prospects, you've been having a tough time trying to figure out this real estate market. And it didn't just start. It's been happening since the recession of 2008. Inventory's been low. Interest rates fluctuating. The pandemic came in and brought people into the housing market, and people buying $40,000, $50,000 over the asking price. Well, there's some other things that are coming down the pike. In a few seconds, we're going to run through a few other things, and then we're going to get right into what that buyer beware is all about. And so stick around, folks. Got some information for you I think you might want to hear about. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, so you're thinking about using your 401k to buy a home. Are you dreaming of buying your own home? Are you wondering how you'll save for the down payment? Check this out, folks. You are not alone. You are not alone in that thought. Some people think about tapping into their 401k savings to make about to make it happen. But before you decide to dip into your retirement to buy a home, be sure to consider possible alternatives and talk with financial expert. Here's why. So the numbers may make it tempting. The data that I'm looking at here says that it's a 401k balance by generation. So Generation Z has about an average of $7,100 in their 401k, $7,100. Millennials have about $44,900 in their 401k. Gen X has about $145,000 in their 401k. The boomers have about $215,000 in their 401k. It can be very tempting when you have a lot of money saved up in your 401k to see your dream home on the horizon. But remember, dipping into your retirement savings for a home would cost you penalty that it can affect your finances later on. That's why it's important to explore all your options when it comes to saving for a down payment and buying a home. So experience says this: it's possible to use funds from your 401k to buy a house, but whether you should depends on several factors, including taxes and penalties, how much you're already saved, and unique financial circumstances. So some alternative ways to buy a home. Using your 401k is one way to finance a home, but it's not the only option. Before you decide, consider a couple of other methods. And this is courtesy of Experian. FHA loan. FHA loan allows qualified buyers to put down as little as 3.5% of the home's price, depending on their credit score. Down payment assistance programs. There are many national and local that can help first-time and repeat home buyers come up with the necessary down payment. So these two options are pretty decent options. I'm going to throw a couple of the options out there that actually help with the down payment assistance program. And of course, they all depend on your income level and all of that stuff. So I'll have some links so that you can go and check some of these companies out. But Maryland Mortgage Program. So those are the down payment assistance programs that can help you with and they have different programs inside of that Maryland Mortgage Program to suit each individual buyer's needs. You have the Chenoa, when you have the house to home products. that also have the down payment assistance. And these are some of the lenders are from out of state that actually have these for Maryland, the DMV residents. Chenoa and House to Home are kind of competitors. So you probably don't hear House to Homes much. You probably heard Chenoa more, but those are two competitive companies for down payment assistance. One of the ones I think that folks are just not talking about, though, is the NACA program. So that's a real big one. I've had stories of folks that doctors who bought $1 million houses years ago with that NACA program, and then were able to get money from the seller or had some money, and they were able to pay the interest rate down to 0.75%. And today, NACA's interest rate is about 5%. So those are different things that you might think about besides using your 401k, because most people probably only put the bare minimum in when they started growing those things, and then the company matched to 50%. So a lot of people probably didn't think about how much you really should have had going to that. So above all else, you gotta have a plan. No matter what route you take to purchase a home, be sure to talk to a financial expert before you do anything. Working with a team of experts to develop a concrete plan prior to starting your journey to home ownership is key to success. And so Kelly Palmer, founder of Wealthy Parents, says this: I've seen parents pausing contributions to their retirement plans in favor of affording a larger home, often with the hope they can refinance in the future. As long as there is a tangible plan in place to get back to saving for your retirement goals, I encourage families to consider all their options. And this is mainly, folks, because we know that to lead to wealth in this country is to have real estate. It's just bottom line. Your landlord has it. Your landlord bought it and rented out to you. He gains equity, you don't. The only reason why a landlord deals with you and his real estate is because he's trying to get to a goal, and you need to think about the exact same thing. So that's the little information I have for you there today. But if you stayed with me, let's get to the nitty-gritty. Buyer beware. What is Kendall talking about? What is Kendall talking about? What is he talking about? Well, this is what Kendall's talking about. So I'm going to share my screen for a second. Okay. So we're going to get a little lesson, and then I'm stay with me, folks, and then we're really going to get into the buyer beware. On your first face-to-face meeting, and depending on it, this is not a requirement anymore, but it's information that most buyers may need to know in regards to when you're going to hire your real estate agent. And this notice says agents who represent the seller. And this is not a contract, but it's a disclosure telling you about how things are being represented. So seller's agent. The seller's agent work for the real estate company that lists and market the property to the sellers and exclusively represents the seller. A seller's agent may assist the buyer in purchasing the property, but his or her duty of loyalty is only to the seller. So when we start talking about the buyer beware part, remember that part right there. That's going to be very, very, very major to what some changes that might come down the pipe. Might come down the pipe. It's looking like it's heavily is going to come down the pipe, but I have to say might because I have my opinions of why it doesn't make any sense for it to come to the DMV. Subagent. Subagent means a licensed real estate broker, licensed associate real estate broker, or licensed real estate salesperson who is not affiliated with acting as a listing real estate broker for a property, is not a buyer's agent, has an agency relationship with the seller, and assists a prospective buyer in the acquisition of real estate for sale in a non-agency capacity. The sub-agent works for a real estate company different from the company for which the seller's agent works. The sub-agent can assist the buyer in purchasing a property, but his or her duty of loyalty is only to the seller. You're on Zillow, you're on Trulia, you're on Redfin, and you reach out to, you're looking at this property and you say, hey, I want to see this house. And so when you do that, do this. So when you do that, most buyers, for some reason, I don't know what's wrong with buyers. They don't want to sit down. They don't want to go to the office and sit down. They don't want to meet at a public place and talk to the agent and really have a professional conversation to see if you guys even want to work together. What they normally do is say, hey, I want to meet you at the property. I want to see this property. That's all I want to see. That's all they know. That's what they want. But what they don't know is right now, if I meet you at the property, per this document here, and you have no agreement with me, I'm not legally representing you. I'm representing the seller. Okay. And I want you to remember this because we're going to get into this a little down the road when we start talking about the buyer beware. So if you're viewing a property and you have not signed a broker's agreement, the agent represents the seller. That's exactly what I just got finished explaining. Okay. So agents who represent the buyer agent, a buyer may enter into a written contract with a real estate broker, which provides that the broker will represent the buyer in locating the property to buy. The agent from the broker's company is then known as the buyer's agent. The buyer's agent assists the buyer in evaluating properties and preparing offers and developing negotiation strategies and works in the best interest of the buyer. The agent fee is paid according to the written agreement between the broker and the buyer. If you as a buyer wish to have an agent represent you, you must enter into a written buyer's agency agreement. So you see what just happened here? This is saying if you have a buyer's agency agreement signed that you are due to pay the buyer's agent that you do an agreement with for their representation at closing of buying your home, right? Now, this says that you actually want representation. If you don't sign the buyer's agency agreement, that means that you don't want actual loyal representation from your agent, and you understand that when that agent is actually now here's the crazy thing that's going to mess you up because most agents, even if you don't sign the buyer's agency agreement, is going to try to work hard for you. But because you didn't take the step to lock them in, they legally are working for the seller. So let's go into the next agent. So dual agents, the possibility of dual agents arises when the buyer's agent and the seller's agent both work for the same real estate company. So you call Marcellus. Marcellus take you to 123 Main Street, and 123 Main Street is listed by another agent at Bennett Realty Solutions. And you decide you want to put in an offer on that property. You would have to consent to dual agency, meaning that that's what this says, that both the listing agent and the buyer's agent work for the same company. The real estate broker or the broker's designee is called the dual agent. Dual agents do not act exclusively in the interest of either the seller or the buyer, and therefore cannot give undivided loyalty to either party. There may be a conflict of interest because the interests of the seller and the buyer may be different or adverse. So if both buyer and seller agree to dual agency by signing consent of dual agency form, the dual agent, the broker or the broker's designee, shall assign one agent to represent the seller, the seller's intra-company agent, and another agent to represent the buyer's intra-company agent. The intra-company agents are required to provide the same services to their client that agents provide in transactions not involving dual agency, including advising their clients as to price and negotiation strategies. If either party does not agree to dual agency, the real estate company must withdraw the broker's agreement for the particular party with either the buyer or the seller or both. If the seller's agreement is terminated, the seller must then either represent him or herself or arrange to be represented by an agent from another real estate broker company. If the brokerage agreement is terminated, buyer may choose to enter into a written brokerage agreement with a different broker company. Alternatively, the buyer may choose not to represent, but simply to receive assistance from the seller's agent, from another agent in that company, or form a sub-agent from another company. No matter what type of agent you choose to work with, you have the following rights and responsibilities in selling or buying property. Real estate agents are obligated by law to treat all parties to a real estate transaction honestly and fairly. They must exercise reasonable care and diligence and maintain the confidentiality of clients. They must not discriminate in offering properties. They must promptly present each written offer or counteroffer to the other party, and they must answer questions truthfully. Real estate agents must disclose all material facts that they know or should know relating to property. An agent's duty to maintain confidentiality does not apply to the disclosure of material facts about a property. All agreements with real estate brokers and agents must be in writing and explain the duties and obligation of both the broker and the agent. The agreement must explain how the broker and agent will be paid and any fee sharing agreements with other brokers. You have the responsibility to protect your own interests. You should carefully read all agreements to make sure they accurately reflect your understanding. A real estate licensee is qualified to advise you on real estate matters only. If you need legal or tax advice, it is your responsibility to consult a licensed attorney or accountant. And then it gives you more information. And then you will sign this. The buyer's agent will sign it. The seller will sign it. If everybody agrees, and things will keep moving. Well, no, not on this. I'm sorry. This is for first face-to-face meeting. If the agent wants to confirm all this information with you, whom that real estate agent actually represents. Buyer does not have to sign it if they don't want you, but the agent will then sign it and certify that he or she actually presented it to you. So that's that's. Did you get all of this, folks? Did you understand that partly the lawsuit that you're hearing about is part of this? And what's happening is it's already been written in here that if you sign your buyer's agency agreement, that you as a buyer could be liable to paying the real estate agent's commission. But most buyers don't know that, and they probably really never read this. And most agents never really enforce it. Why? Because during the regular uh, listing agreement, the listing agent normally um, already negotiated a commission for the buyer's agent. And so most times the discussion never comes up of what buyer may have to pay in commission. Although I have had quite a few times in my years of practicing, buyers say, "Hey, how much I owe you?" So this is just this part. If you need any more information on this, please reach out to me, comment, and let's sit down and let's talk about. Let's go over this as far as I can, because like the document actually says, I'm not legal in this, and if you have some legal questions, then like I said, you should seek legal counsel. But let's go to the next thing. So this is what the exclusive buyer and tenant residential brokerage agreement looks like. So fill out all the information. And we're just going to go quickly through this. There's speaking about what the buyer is authorizing. This talks about explain exactly what the buyer is looking for. So it says down there that the buyer seeks the following type of property: 3-bedroom, 2 full bath, et cetera, et cetera. And then it talks about the buyer agency and the rights of the party following the expiration. So this is where we actually this is where we put in how long we expect to be hired by you, and how we actually look at void and terminating the contract. Then it starts talking about fair housing, uh, the buyer responsibility and notice regarding coming soon listings, and financial information, signs of advertisement for property, new home builders, and open houses. So we'll provide this to you, and you can read this all the way through. Here's down here. Now, here's the part of the buyer beware that you've been waiting for. I said a little bit about it a few minutes ago, but this is the main part of it. Broker's compensation. Now, remember, this is the buyer's agreement. Broker's compensation. The amount of broker compensation is not prescribed by law or established by any membership organization with the broker is affiliated. So that says that really the broker can put in here and negotiate with you whatever percentage they want to negotiate with you. And it says A, compensation to be paid by buyer in the event of the sale or lease, compensation to be paid by buyer to broker shall be, and then we put percentage, flat fee, whatever that number is. Now, the majority of anybody that you probably talk to that have purchased a home, let's just say within the last 10 years, will probably not tell you that. It's also maybe depending on the agent's business, but they'll probably tell you that they've never paid on the HUD, which is the document, the settlement sheet document that you get to see all the fees and everything that were drawn up for the transaction. They didn't see fees that they had to pay the buyer's agent. But here's the thing: with this lawsuit, everybody speculating that because the lawsuit was based on, they're saying that the agents inflated the commission rate for the towards the seller in order to pay the buyer's agents. Now, I don't understand that, to be honest, because across the board, at least in the DMV, that the highest commission rate is normally the 5 or 6% from the seller, and then there's a percentage, 2.5 to what the buyer's agent are normally put in the system or getting. And so this is why most agents don't really go after the buyer for any commission, although the average commission rate is 3% per agent. So the reason why, and what's probably going to start happening, again, buyer beware, is that you're going to start seeing buyer's agency agreements that come to you. They're going to put 3% in there, and then what you'll notice is, I think it's some place in here. Okay, so B, fee, I think it's here. Fee paid by seller. Broker is authorized to receive compensation from the listing broker seller. Compensation may be offered from the listing broker to broker through the multiple listing service, or from seller as negotiated by broker, and seller for a real property which is not listed with another broker. The amount of compensation received by broker from listing broker or from seller shall be credited against the compensation agreed upon in paragraph 8A. Buyer shall be obligated to pay any difference between the amount owed and the amount paid by the listing broker seller. In the event the amount of compensation received, such compensation to retain and such additional compensation without proration or rebate to buyer, the amount of any such payment by a listing broker seller shall be with the seller's and broker's prior knowledge and consent, and shall in no way affect the obligation of the broker to act on the behalf of the buyer in the transaction. So that's saying that if the listing agent actually negotiated 2.5%, 2% for the buyer's agent, and the buyer's agent normal commission is 3%. On this form, that buyer's agent will have 3% written on here. And then they get from this, part B, the 3% that you, the buyer, agree on, whatever that buyer's the seller listing agent was not able to negotiate for that buyer's agent, the difference is paid for by you, the buyer. So if that listing on the MLS says 2.5%, and the buyer's agent put 3% here, you now owe the buyer 0.5. Now, here's the craziness of the buyer beware, is that the lawsuit has brokers and agents running around trying to figure this all out, because National Association of Realtors have now opened up in the MLS, multiple listing service, that the listing agent can now put 0 in for the buyer's agent commission. Couldn't do 0 before. You had to put something, even if it was 1%. So that's the big buyer beware, because now the question becomes, if a listing agent negotiates their commission with the seller, and either, I guess the question becomes, are you not willing to share the commission because maybe it's too low, it's just 3%, or what have you? And that's what I think is the problem with their saying is inflated, is that the fact that the listing agent's normal rate is about 3%. And so if they go up 6%, even though they're going 6% so that they can get help from the agent to help sell it, the buyer's agent to help sell it, I think that's the part that they're calling it inflated. I don't know how they get there because, again, we already talked about the fact that there's really no ceiling to the commission rate. So again, the buyer beware is you now with a $400,000 purchase needing 3.5% plus additional 4% or so for closing costs. Now you got 7.5%, and the buyer's agent fee is 3%, and the listing agent did not put in the MLS to pay the buyer's agent's commission. You now have a 10.5%, 10.5% expense for buying that $400,000 home, roughly over $40,000. Comment, get with me, folks. Tell me what you think about this if you're thinking about buying in the future. We already, the buyers are being squeezed for a heck of a lot nowadays. And it's kind of understandable because, now that seller can actually net more money, I mean, but it's also a catch-22 because buyers pay all of their costs on everything else. You buy a pair of Jordans, you pay the $250, and the taxes. You don't question it. So that's it, folks. I hope I gave you a little bit of information that'll help you out going into the future. If you have any questions for me, please reach out to me. Another Hump Day Real Estate with Kendall and the DMV, and I'm signing off. I look forward to answering any questions. Hit me up in the comments. Call me. Let's talk about it. Have a blessed one.